Premier's there.
Probably here.
okay.
I'm guessing there.
That's a problem.
Great to see you. I think, you're in the middle, and Premier's right here.
Premier, how are you?
Premier, how are you? Glad to be back.
Okay, we're ready to go. Bonjour tout le monde. Hello everyone. It's great to be back in sunny Transcona. Second morning in a row. I can't remember when the last time that's happened. It's great to be here. Before we begin, I want to acknowledge that we are on the traditional homeland of the Red River Métis, as well as Treaty 1 territory. C'est un grand plaisir de souhaiter la bienvenue de retour à Winnipeg au Premier Ministre Trudeau et Ministre Fraser. I also want to acknowledge Premier Canoe, Mayor Gillingham, Manitoba Caucus, and the presence of Manitoba Métis Federation President David Chartrand. Preserving our existing affordable housing is crucial to ensuring families can continue to thrive in the homes they've cherished for years. These policies are not about bricks and mortar. They're about keeping families together in the places they call home. We also know that to lower the cost of housing, we need to build more housing, and we need to do it faster. This last December, I was very proud to join Mayor Gillingham to announce over $122 million in funding through the Housing Accelerator Fund, a testament to our commitment to addressing housing challenges head-on. Ensemble, nous prenons des mesures audacieuses comme l'augmentation de la densité autour des transports en commun, adaptées aux besoins spécifiques de notre communauté. Through collaboration and innovative solutions, we're not only protecting existing affordable housing, but also creating new opportunities for Winnipeggers. This team will ultimately lead to more money in the pockets of Manitobans as rents stabilize and housing costs become more manageable. The progress we're making in our partnerships with our municipal and our provincial counterparts sets a shining example for all of Canada. Et maintenant, je cède la parole au Premier ministre. Thank you. Merci beaucoup.
Merci Dan. Quel plaisir d'être de retour à Winnipeg. Je suis très heureux d'être ici avec toi et avec Sean pour une autre annonce importante aujourd'hui. Très heureux aussi de voir les autres membres de notre équipe libérale du Manitoba, Ben, Terry et Kevin. Also glad to highlight our federal colleague, Daniel Blakey. Good to see you here, Daniel. Merci aussi au maire Gillingham de nous accueillir ici à Winnipeg. Scott, with the $122 million Housing Accelerator Fund agreement we just signed, I know that you and your council are working incredibly hard to build more homes even faster across Winnipeg. It's always great to be working in partnership with you. I also want to highlight all of our friends here from Indigenous communities and various leadership across the country and around the community to demonstrate how important the investment in affordable housing is here in Manitoba, as it is right across the country. It's also great to be here with Premier Canoe, with Manitoba's Housing Minister Bernadette Smith as well. Wab, I know how important it is for you that we continue to fight every day for an economy that is fair for everyone. And that's exactly what we're doing today with a significant announcement that will protect and expand affordable housing. The affordable housing complex where we are today is multi-generational, meaning some units are for younger families and some are for seniors. I had an opportunity to sit down with Jocelyn and her girls a little bit earlier, but also with a pair of seniors, Marlene and Lou, who are talking, all of them, about how good a place this is to live, how affordable it is, but also the sense of community that happens here. Rents are affordable, and a good portion of them are based on people's income. And the intergenerational connections create a strong sense of community. For families like Jocelyn's, this is a good place to raise kids with peace of mind and stability. Now, this place is run by a nonprofit called the Winnipeg Housing Rehabilitation Corporation. And we need more affordable housing buildings just like this one right across the country. Unfortunately, too many of those places are under constant threat of being demolished to build condos or sold to speculators and large corporations that will increase rents at turnover. People are being priced out of their communities, and that's not okay. So we have to help nonprofits and community partners acquire units and preserve rents at a stable level. That's why we're here to announce the $1.5 billion Canada Rental Protection Fund. On va investir 1,5 milliard de dollars dans le nouveau Fonds canadien de protection des loyers. 1 milliard de dollars en prêts et 470 millions en contributions. Par exemple, si un immeuble avec des logements abordables est mis en vente, ces prêts et contributions pourraient aider à un organisme d'habitation sans but lucratif à l'acheter. En faisant ça, les organismes gardent les loyers abordables et ils peuvent réaliser les travaux nécessaires et préserver les logements et les prix à long terme. The Canada Rental Protection Fund will aim to mobilize investments and financing from the charitable sector, private sector, and other orders of government in order to maximize the ability to acquire and protect affordable housing. A good proof of concept of this initiative is the BC Rental Protection Fund in British Columbia. They recognize that for every new affordable rental home that is built in their province, 4 more are lost to investors, to conversions, to demolition, and to rent increases. And this is happening in communities right across the country, which is why the federal government is acting today. La semaine passée et cette semaine, on a beaucoup parlé de mesures pour le logement qui vont être dans le budget. Et on va en avoir plus à dire encore dans les prochains jours. Mais ce qu'il faut retenir, c'est qu'on est là pour protéger les locataires. On est là pour construire plus de logements plus rapidement et pour construire les infrastructures nécessaires. On est là pour aider à construire des apparts avec des loyers raisonnables et abordables, et on est là pour protéger les logements abordables qui existent déjà avec des modèles qui fonctionnent bien pour des gens à faible revenu. On travaille à chaque jour pour donner une chance équitable à chaque génération. We're fighting every day to build an economy that helps every generation get ahead, including Gen Z and millennials. Because for Canada to succeed, we need everyone to succeed. Thank you so much for being here. I'll now happily pass it over to our Minister of Housing and Infrastructure, Sean Fraser. Sean.
Bonjour, bienvenue tout le monde. C'est un plaisir d'être ici pour célébrer une bonne annonce pour augmenter le nombre d'unités logements abordables partout notre pays. Before I begin, let me just say thank you, Prime Minister. It's always good to be sharing news, and it's good to be here in Winnipeg with some of my federal colleagues, Minister Vandal, Ben, Terry, Kevin. Good to see you guys. Mayor Gillingham, after our success in the Housing Accelerator Fund, I want to congratulate you publicly. And Premier, on your historic election, I want to say congratulations. And Bernadette, it's been a pleasure to work alongside you. And I can't, of course, leave out President Chartrand at the Manitoba Métis Federation. Just to take one moment as well, I do want to acknowledge the efforts to advocate for more affordable housing of one of our now former federal colleagues, Daniel. Congratulations on getting out on your own terms, and a few of us do in politics. But I just want to say it's been a pleasure to work alongside you and wishing you the best as you serve your province in a new role in the upcoming days. We're experiencing a housing crisis in this country, and it's manifesting itself in a lot of very human ways for families who live in communities in every part of Canada. There's too many young people that I talk to who are priced out of the market in the community where they grew up. There's too many seniors who tell me they can't find a place to downsize in the community where their grandkids are being raised. I'm talking to too many workers who can't afford to live in the community where they go to their job every day. And that's true here in Winnipeg as much as it is anywhere else. And let me just say first, Jocelyn, thanks for bringing the kids along. It's clear this place is theirs as much as anybody's. And that's what homes are meant to be, and I think it's a pleasure to have them here today. But it's important to understand that the housing crisis that we're living through is not impacting all of us equally. The most vulnerable are feeling the brunt more than anyone else. And in different parts of the country, that impacts different communities. In Western Canada, through the prairies, the disproportionate impact on Indigenous Canadians is something we can't turn a blind eye to. Over the course of the past few weeks and the next few weeks, we have been and will be rolling out a series of policies designed to address Canada's national housing crisis, culminating with the publication of a plan in advance of the federal budget with a comprehensive set of policies meant to address some of these pressing concerns. There's a few key areas where we're going to be putting forward measures, including the need to build more homes, the need to support the most vulnerable, and the need to make it easier to rent or buy a place to live in this country. Today, we're focusing on a specific opportunity for us to help some of the most vulnerable. To understand how we got where we are today, you got to go back a few decades in our history. We had about 3 decades preceding the National Housing Strategy in 2017, where the federal government, over the course of both Liberal and Conservative governments, decided that it wasn't their responsibility to invest in housing. As a result, we see a direct consequence today that we don't have enough affordable housing in this country. Now, though we stepped up with the National Housing Strategy to put more money on the table, to build more housing when we introduced the National Housing Strategy, we know that there's more we need to do. Because as the Prime Minister pointed out, over the course of the last number of decades, we've actually lost hundreds of thousands of affordable housing units in this country. Some of those are a result of buildings not being properly maintained or repaired that had to be demolished. Others get bought up, renovated, and have the rents jacked up to a price that the residents couldn't afford and pulls them out of their affordable status. Now, we have an obligation to do that because here in Canada, less than 4% of our housing stock is actually held by nonprofits or governments outside of the market. By way of comparison, advanced economies around the world average about 8%. We have a moral obligation to make sure that everyone in this country has a roof over their head and has a safe and affordable place to call home. But even if you don't buy into the moral argument, the economic argument should speak for itself. The cost of ignoring homelessness is more expensive than the cost of addressing it. When we see people who don't have an affordable place to live, they more often run into challenges in the healthcare system, which impacts the resources we put towards the strain system. They more often run into challenges with the law enforcement or the courts, which comes at a cost to all of us, and more often fail to achieve their economic potential and are denied an opportunity to contribute their talents that benefits communities, not just for the individual who's looking to find a home, but for all of us. Now, we can help change that. And today's announcement of the Canada Rental Protection Fund, worth $1.5 billion, is going to put more housing in the hands of nonprofits who will not just ensure that it's affordable today, but ensure that it's kept affordable forever. This is a new strategy that we're adopting to help ensure as we build more units, we stop losing the organic affordable rents that exist on the market today. This is something that we're going to co-lead with the nonprofit sector across Canada to make sure that we're protecting the affordability that exists in perpetuity. Now, this is important to understand because the cause of homelessness isn't somebody's family history. It's not their race. It's not their sexual orientation. It's not even mental health or addictions. The cause of homelessness is a lack of affordable housing. And the solution to homelessness is to have more affordable housing. Today is going to ensure that we achieve that goal. And we have to ask ourselves, what kind of a country do we want to be? My view is that Canada should be a country where we read about homelessness in our history books, not in our newspapers. This is something that we can achieve, but it's going to take serious investments. And today we're taking a major step in the right direction. I want to say thank you to everyone who works in the nonprofit sector. It has been a tiring few years. The good you're doing to serve vulnerable members of your community is so sincerely appreciated, and we look forward to partnering with you in the days ahead. I want to take this opportunity now to introduce the Premier of this province, Wab Kinew. Thank you for being with us.
Well, Prime Minister Trudeau, Minister Fraser, Minister Vandell, MPs Duguid, Carr, Lamoureux, Mayor Gillingham, my provincial colleagues, President Chartrand, I greet you all with a warm and hearty handshake and say that today is a good day. Je suis très content d'être ici pour appuyer des logements abordables ici dans le Manitoba et puis de travailler ensemble avec les autres niveaux de gouvernement pour appuyer les prochaines générations et puis aussi les générations qui ont construit notre province. I also want to thank Daniel Blakey for his service. We're here in Transcona today, and people in Transcona don't necessarily vote for a party. They vote for Blakey's. And so we're very honored that he's going to work with our team here in Manitoba, and we're going to continue that good work of standing up for people in Transcona and people right across this great province. So this is welcome news from the federal government here today, and it matches a lot of the values that Mayor Gillingham and the rest of our province are working on. The investments shared by the Prime Minister today and articulated also by Minister Fraser are going to help more people get connected with a safe place to call home. They're also in line with our commitment that Minister Smith and the rest of our team share to end chronic homelessness here in Manitoba over the next 8 years. Now, just a few days ago, we introduced our provincial budget, and I'm very happy that there's a really good alignment, a really good fit between what's being announced here and what we're committed to investing right here in Manitoba this year. So in addition to what the federal government is announcing here today, I'm very happy to announce that the province of Manitoba is bringing forward $30 million this year to help not-for-profits, Indigenous governments, municipalities, and all of our partners to have the resources to acquire new housing stock or to acquire existing stock and bring those units online to help people here in Manitoba. So $20 million of those dollars this year is to support not-for-profits. It's to help them take on and renovate buildings right here in Transcona, across Winnipeg, in Brandon, in Thompson, and across this great province. This is going to help our relatives who, unfortunately, we still see sleeping in tents and under bridges. And it's going to offer new steps on the ladder to Manitobans from all walks of life to be able to move into housing units, rental units, and of course, onto home ownership for those who share that goal. We're also going to ensure through these steps that Manitoba remains a province where housing is affordable. We've seen what happens when you slow down supply in other jurisdictions, and we can't let that happen here in Manitoba. We won't let that happen here in Manitoba. We're also going to be devoting $10 million of these dollars to partner with Indigenous governments and to partner with municipalities to support your efforts to work with private sector partners, to work through your own development corporations, to work with other community-based partners through our new Affordable Housing Partnership Program. This is $10 million this year to help support your investments to bring new rental units online to help Manitobans from all walks of life. So I just want to say that any day we can stand with children and families in our communities, any day we can stand with seniors is a great day in Manitoba. My late father used to say that as we walk through life, the seniors and elders in our community, they pull us forward, they call us forward. And it's the younger generation, the kids and the babies who are there coming up behind us to push us on forward through our life's journey. And I think when we look at the other levels of government, the Prime Minister, the Mayor, the leaders of Indigenous governments like President Chartrand, we all recognize that this is who we're working for. We're working for you. We're working to help ensure that you can have a good quality of life and a good place to call home. So to be able to share some of these new investments that we're making to help folks like you, it's a great honor, and I just want to say thank you so much. Miigwech merci. You could have done that while I was talking too.
You look good with the beam of light on you.
Thank you so much.
Who's
guys.
up next?
That's
Is it
great.
Scott?
Should I introduce Mr.
Introduce whoever's next. Is it Bernadette or is it Scott?
Are you next?
Scott.
Okay, I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce the Mayor of Winnipeg, Scott Gillingham.
Thank you, Mr. Premier.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Premier, and I want to thank you, Mr. Prime Minister, and Minister Fraser, the members of Parliament, Minister Vandell, Terry Duguid, and Kevin Lamoureux and Ben Carr. Also really good to be here with you, Minister Smith as well, and President Chartrand and Minister Gooden. And I hope I haven't forgot anybody. I too want to add my voice of appreciation to Daniel Blakey for your service to our community and to the people of Winnipeg here on the east side. Thank you so much. And I wish you all the best in your transition. Looking forward actually to working closer with you now that you'll be here in Manitoba. I couldn't help but think as the Prime Minister and Minister Fraser and the Premier were talking, and looking over at the seniors and the family, thank you so much for allowing us into your space. We're a bit disruptive, so thank you so much. But I've heard from many people in our community that they just want levels of government to work together for them. And I think you see and you hear here an alignment together as the Prime Minister and his government have prioritized, Premier Canoe and his government are prioritizing, and we at City Council are prioritizing housing and making sure that housing is available and affordable for people. And so today, this is a great announcement. And the announcements, plural, the Prime Minister's announcement and the Premier's announcements really complement the work that we're doing at the City to support the nonprofit housing sector. And one of the things that we're doing at the City is we are setting up a concierge service to work with nonprofits to help them navigate their way through the city zoning approvals process. We're also establishing a new office that will be focused on assembling land that can be used for affordable and nonprofit and supportive housing projects. And these are just some of the investments that we're making through our allocation of the Federal Housing Accelerator Fund. So Prime Minister and Minister Fraser, we're putting that fund to good use to make it easier for nonprofits to build and transform housing. And I certainly do want to take the opportunity to thank the Prime Minister and the federal government for the $122 million commitment to Winnipeg. I also want to acknowledge that the announcement earlier this week from the federal government that it will be designating $6 billion for infrastructure improvements required to support housing projects, including $1 billion specifically for municipalities. As we know, every housing unit needs the services that enable the housing unit. It's the water pipe, the sewer pipe, the sidewalks, the roads, whatever it may be. So that growth-enabling infrastructure is so critical, and we've called upon the federal government to, as municipalities, to assist us, and this announcement they made earlier this week is very important in providing that assistance, and so thank you very much, Mr. Prime Minister. Here in Winnipeg, the best example of that growth-enabling infrastructure that we need built is the work we're doing on our North End Sewage Treatment Plant. This is the most complex, most expensive project in the City of Winnipeg's history. It will be done to protect our rivers and Lake Winnipeg, but it's also essential to enable housing development to accommodate the growth within the city and the neighboring municipalities. And the sooner we get that project built, the sooner we can build more homes in the City of Winnipeg. And so really hoping that with these new funds that were announced prior to today, to tap into that funding source for additional support for that project. As a politician, I certainly understand that cutting a ribbon on a new sewer pipe or wastewater treatment plant is not always the most exciting thing, but I can't overstate the importance of this growth-enabling infrastructure. We're doing our part here in Winnipeg. We're embarking also on the most significant reforms to housing policy in our city's history. Some of that was motivated, Minister Fraser, by the Housing Accelerator Fund program, but a lot of it was already underway, including streamlining our permitting processes and adding more density along major transportation corridors and next to retail mall sites. And the more units of housing we can get built, the better it is for everybody. And in February, we passed our first set of amendments to our zoning bylaws, and more changes will be coming this summer. We'll also be launching our first grant program under the Housing Accelerator Fund, which will incentivize the construction of new, affordable, multifamily housing projects that include affordable units across the city, but within a specific focus, really, initially, to our downtown. And as I said before, and I'll just conclude with this, once again, the announcement earlier this week and the announcements today will assist us to further those efforts. And once again, I look forward to working with all levels of government, the federal government, provincial government, Indigenous governments like the Manitoba Métis Federation and President Chartrand, and others on continuing to work together to build housing for Winnipeggers for the future. Thank you. Merci, Miigwech.
Thank you, Mayor. We'll now begin the question period, 20 minutes of questions. One question, one follow-up. First question goes to City News.
Prime Minister Trudeau, on your pre-budget tour, you made around $25 billion in new spending and loan commitments. Will your government be introducing any new taxes or raising any current ones in order to pay for these promises?
We've made it very clear from the very minute we got elected back in 2015 that we were going to support the middle class and people working hard to join it, which is why one of the very first things we did was raise taxes on the wealthiest 1% and lower them for the middle class. We're going to continue to focus on affordability. We're going to continue to focus on putting money in the pockets of Canadians. There are no plans to raise taxes on the middle class. We are focused on delivering the investments, the supports, the housing, the childcare, the National School Food Program, and the jobs in a growing clean economy that this country needs. We have one of the strongest fiscal balance sheets in the G7, the lowest debt to GDP ratio. We're the third largest economy in the world with a AAA credit rating. We're going to continue to make fiscal responsibility at the core of what we do, even as we ensure fairness for every generation.
Ian Frey, CBC. World Central Kitchen is asking for a third party to investigate the killings, not Israel. Yesterday, you called for an investigation. Would you accept an Israeli investigation of the incident? We
need a fully open, transparent, independent, and rapid investigation into what happened. I have to directly take issue with what Prime Minister Netanyahu said yesterday when he said, well, this just happens in conflicts and in wartime. No, it doesn't just happen. And it shouldn't just happen. When you have aid workers for an extraordinary organization like World Central Kitchen risking their lives every day in an incredibly dangerous place to deliver food to people who are experiencing a horrific humanitarian catastrophe, that is not okay that they get hit by targeted missiles like this. The reality is we need much more humanitarian support to flow into Gaza, much more protection of civilians, of innocents, and of aid workers. That's why we need a humanitarian ceasefire. We need for Hamas to lay down its arms. We need for the hostages to be released. And we need a ceasefire to allow this humanitarian catastrophe to end as quickly as possible. Okay. Ce qui s'est passé aux travailleurs de World Central Kitchen est absolument inacceptable. Nous avons besoin de s'assurer la protection de ceux qui sont là pour protéger les plus vulnérables, les gens qui sont en train de vivre une crise humanitaire épouvantable. Et je ne suis pas d'accord avec le premier ministre Netanyahu quand il dit que c'est des choses qui arrivent dans la guerre. Mais non, ça ne devrait pas arriver. Ceux qui sont là pour protéger les civils doivent être protégés eux-mêmes. C'est pour ça que, oui, on est en train d'appeler pour une enquête transparente et indépendante. Nous avons besoin de clarifier ce qui s'est passé. Nous avons besoin de mieux protéger les civils et les gens humanitaires, les travailleurs humanitaires. On a besoin d'envoyer plus d'aide à Gaza, plus d'aide humanitaire, et on a besoin d'un cessez-le-feu. On a besoin que Hamas dépose ses armes et libère les otages. Mais on a besoin d'un cessez-le-feu pour envoyer plus d'aide aux Palestiniens.
Next question.
Steve Lambert, La Presse Canadienne. Your government, along with Ontario, has spent a lot of money in recent years to build up electric vehicle manufacturing capacity in Canada. Do you think today's decision by the Ford Motor Company to delay the plant in Oakville is a sign that the plan needs to be reworked or is backfiring?
I think obviously different companies will make decisions that make sense for them, but what we're seeing is an incredible adoption rate of electric vehicles and the manufacturing and the entire manufacturing chain that we're building up in Canada, from mines to battery assembly to auto assembly to the recycling that goes after it. Canada has seen and Canadians have seen that being lower emission in our daily lives is also good for the planet, but also good for a growing economy and great jobs. We've continued to draw in investments from around the world, and we'll continue to be there to invest in a strong future as those projects and those jobs are created.
Thank you. Next question.
Eric Bandera, Winnipeg Free Press. This is for both you and the Premier. What is Manitoba's carbon tax exemption plan, and was that discussed this morning?
I'm looking forward to sitting down with Wab after this press conference to talk about a range of things that we're working on together. All Canadians know that we need to fight climate change in ways that support families. That's why back in 2016, we put forward a pan-Canadian climate change framework that all premiers and all provinces worked on together to make sure that even as we were putting a price on pollution, it put more money back in the pockets, particularly of middle-class and lower-income Canadians. Because fighting climate change and helping with affordability are things that even back then matter even more right now. But as I've said multiple times, provinces are free to move forward on their own pricing systems as long as they hit the same levels and the same outcomes that are in place across the country. BC and Quebec have had their own pricing system in place. It's important that it not be free to pollute anywhere in the country. The federal backstop puts more money in the pockets of Canadians while fighting climate change in a very efficient and powerful way, but every province is open to put forward an equivalent plan, and that's what I'm happy to work on with the Premier here and with anyone right across the country. Rob, do you want to take a word?
Absolutely. If I might, I wanted to just jump in on Steve's question as well. Of course, in the budget that we tabled this week, we've brought in incentives on electric vehicles and plug-in hybrids for the first time in Manitoba. And these are targeted towards the middle class and those who need the most help to be able to do the right choice by the environment. And so we're really happy that not only is this available on vehicles that are more affordable, but it's also available for used vehicles. But given the fact that we're here in Transcona today, I want to share with the good people in the room that our budget this year has a $10 million investment into NFI Group, into New Flyer, which for decades has been supporting good-paying blue-collar jobs right here in Transcona. And right now, we know that vehicles that get assembled by NFI because of Buy American rules, the final assembly happens in Minnesota. But this $10 million investment means when a Canadian transit company like the TTC or Winnipeg Transit orders a bus, that those buses are going to be assembled right here in Winnipeg to put food on the table for hardworking Manitobans. When we talk about the carbon tax, I'm thinking a lot about nation building right now. We know that the conversation has become so divisive. And coming out of COVID, and just the experience that we've all had for the past few years, I think Manitobans and Canadians are looking for reasons to come together. I think there's a broad consensus that we want to do better by the environment. I think there's an equally broad consensus that we got to find ways to make life more affordable. Everybody's dealing with the cost of living. So I look forward to bringing our plan, which is a credible plan for net zero, to be achieved here in Manitoba, forward to the federal government. This is a conversation that we've already been engaging in, and so I appreciate the Prime Minister's openness. And we've got a really strong case to make. Manitoba, for the past 50 years, through Manitoba Hydro, has built up a low-carbon electricity grid. We've got the leading zero-emission bus manufacturer just steps away from where we're gathered here today. And through the new steps we're taking to electrify and decarbonize the way that you get to work and the way that you heat your home, we've got a very strong case to make that Manitoba is going to hit net zero. And so we're going to be looking for that exemption from the federal backstop, but we're also going to ensure that we're keeping your life more affordable and that we're doing our part to solve the climate crisis. Thanks.
For Minister Trudeau, would you accept a exemption plan that doesn't include a price that is focused on rebates and credits and
You guys have the hardest job of all today.
We ensured, as of 2016 onwards, that it's no longer free to pollute anywhere in this country. That's what a price on pollution is all about. Now, the price on pollution that we brought in is about a third of our climate plan. It's responsible for a significant amount of reductions of emissions because it's no longer free to pollute, and companies have that certainty that the price is going to continue to go up. Now, a number of jurisdictions have moved forward with different measures that are different from the federal backstop that keep a price signal on pollution while they invest in renewables, why they continue to reach for net zero, and that's an important part of the entire conversation that we're having. But what remains essential is that it cannot be free to pollute anywhere around the country. Now, we see the federal Conservatives, in particular Pierre Poilievre, wanting to make pollution free again. And on top of that, wanting to take away the Canada Carbon Rebate checks that are delivering this year $1,200 to a family of 4 in Manitoba, which is more than the vast majority of families in Manitoba pay in the extra price on pollution. That's done to both help with affordability while we fight climate change. And I'm looking forward to discussing the details of Manitoba's proposal, because we need to move forward in ways that are right for every province, and we're always open to those discussions. That's been part of the pan-Canadian framework from the very beginning, that provinces that want to price pollution in their own way can do so, as long as it is equivalent in impact to what's going on elsewhere in the country, for matters of fairness and for matters of shared ambition.
Next question.
Sierra Bettens with APTN National News. So Prime Minister Trudeau, First Nations on the prairies are out $274 million for housing because the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation was using outdated data. Will those First Nations be compensated?
We're going to continue to work with Indigenous communities right across the country to meet the tremendous housing needs that we know are faced by communities. That's why we stepped up significantly with billions of dollars in Indigenous, particularly First Nations and Métis housing, and why we're going to continue to work to make sure that we're building those homes across the prairies and indeed across the country for Indigenous communities.
Next question.
Hi, Prime Minister. Marnie Blunt with Global News. Yesterday, my colleagues asked you when you saw the CSIS summary of Han Dong's conversation with the Chinese diplomat about the two Michaels, and we also asked whether or not you would be allowing him back into caucus now that that document is public. You didn't answer the question, so we'd like to put them to you again today. When did you see that CSIS summary, and will you let Han Dong back into caucus?
There is an ongoing public inquiry into foreign interference that is doing extremely important work, both highlighting what is going on and what has happened within government to protect Canadians and our institutions from foreign interference, but also look at ways we can do even more, as well as reassuring the public that indeed the 2019 and 2021 elections, despite attempts at foreign interference, remained free and fair. This is the ongoing work happening right now in Ottawa, and I look forward to fully participating next week in the public inquiry. But for right now, I'm really happy to be in Winnipeg talking about the fact that we are investing in ensuring that low-income and affordable rental housing remains affordable for families like Jocelyn's for years and decades to come. That's what this investment is about, and it's going to have a real, tangible impact on the lives of Canadians across the country as we step up on fairness for every generation.
Just going back to the CSIS topic, do you believe Han Dong should be allowed back into caucus based on the contents of the CSIS document, or did it raise concerns for you?
I think everyone is looking forward to the work of the independent inquiry into foreign interference and looks forward to seeing the Commissioner's reports in the coming months.
Next question.
Simon Deschamps, Radio-Canada. Il y a des premiers ministres provinciaux qui disent que vous empiétez dans leur champ de compétences avec des annonces comme aujourd'hui. Il y a des observateurs qui disent que vous brisez la fédération. Êtes-vous en train de briser la fédération?
Je pense que ce qui inquiète le plus les Canadiens, c'est est-ce qu'ils peuvent payer leur logement? Est-ce qu'ils vont avoir des bons emplois pour les années à venir? Est-ce qu'ils vont pouvoir mettre leurs enfants dans des garderies, des centres de petite enfance abordables? Est-ce qu'on va livrer des programmes de repas dans les écoles qui vont empêcher les enfants d'avoir faim pendant qu'ils font leurs études? Je sais que c'est une priorité pour tous les premiers ministres de toutes les provinces et c'est pour ça qu'on est là, pour dire que le gouvernement fédéral va faire partie des solutions, des investissements qui vont aider à travers le pays. Là où les provinces font déjà la job de la bonne façon, on va travailler avec eux pour en faire encore plus. Là où les provinces doivent être encouragées d'en faire un petit peu plus, on va être là pour les encourager, les inciter et leur offrir plus d'argent pour pouvoir le faire. C'est comme ça qu'une fédération doit fonctionner. On doit travailler en partenariat pour livrer pour les citoyens parce que les citoyens s'en foutent de quel ordre de gouvernement est responsable de quoi. Ils veulent juste que leur loyer soit abordable, que leur épicerie coûte pas trop cher, que leurs enfants soient en bonne situation pour pouvoir réussir. C'est ça que les gens veulent et c'est ça sur lequel on est en train de travailler en partenariat et dans tout respect.
Est-ce que vous accepteriez que des provinces empiètent dans les compétences fédérales?
OK. On est toujours là pour travailler en partenariat sur tous les enjeux qui sont préoccupants pour les Canadiens. Et je suis toujours content d'entendre les perspectives et recevoir de l'argent des provinces s'ils veulent investir dans notre militaire, par exemple.
Hugo Bocan de La Liberté. J'avais une question à propos des 1,5 milliard qui vont être distribués. Est-ce qu'on sait combien le Manitoba va recevoir sur cette somme-là?
Je vais passer la parole au ministre Fraser, mais je vais dire que beaucoup plus de détails vont être partagés le 16 quand on partage notre budget. Mais les gens peuvent savoir qu'à travers le pays, y compris ici au Manitoba, il va y avoir des fonds pour les OSBL et le secteur public de pouvoir protéger des logements abordables qui, on sait, sont souvent achetés par le privé pour ensuite monter le prix. On est là pour travailler avec le secteur d'habitation pour protéger les résidences abordables qui sont là déjà. Scott, Sean, do you want to say a little bit about...
Et les questions sur le 5 milliards de dollars pour l'infrastructure. Pour aujourd'hui. Oui, les programmes fonctionnent avec la participation pour le secteur sans profit. Et nous cherchons une stratégie pour travailler ensemble avec les partenariats qui ont l'habilité pour attirer les fonds privés, qui attirent les fonds de la province qui veulent participer dans le programme, et aussi les contributions charitables. Juste en anglais, français est une nouvelle langue pour moi, mais j'ai envie de pratiquer. Today, one thing that's important to understand is that there's an enormous opportunity to pull other funds into the $1.5 billion. I expect that Manitoba will get a fair share based on the projects that are available to help soak up that cash. But we may see differences between regions based on contributions that provincial governments are willing to make in this regard, based on contributions that come from private sector players that are focused on giving in particular regions in Canada, based on charitable contributions that come from people who want to see the money that they're putting forward to be invested in certain parts of the country. So my expectation is that we'll see a roughly proportionate share, but there may be circumstances that allow us to get more done based on investments that come from other parties in different parts of the country. Merci.
Last question.
Hi, Jeff Keel, CTV Winnipeg. You're announcing billions in loans today, the apartment construction and for daycare providers. What's the interest on these loans, and will there be deadlines to pay them back?
There are various models out there. What we're focused on is ensuring low-cost loans for developers who are building affordable homes, low-cost loans for apartments, for public sector and nonprofit sector to be able to purchase and secure affordable rental housing that will last instead of allowing it to be bought up and flipped at higher prices, but also on childcare, long-term affordable loans, low-cost loans to build more infrastructure. This is all about making the math work as we're creating more childcare spaces, as we're creating more affordable rentals, as we're preventing affordable rentals from falling out of the affordable market into rents that people can't afford. These are all various elements that will be revealed more on budget day, but these initiatives are about allowing the sector and allowing people across the country to be able to afford places to live, to go at the challenge that everyone's facing, to make sure that our economy is fair for every generation.
Thank you, Prime Minister. That concludes today's press conference.
Merci beaucoup tout le monde.